All right, in today's session, we're going to talk about valuing yourself. What I mean by that is literally your value as a human being versus your value in the workplace. Here's why this is important. I think this is one of the things that is very easily overlooked. So it's now the beginning of September. In fact, this is the first episode to go out in September 2025 at the time of recording. And this month inside Be the First, I'm doing a lot of work with my clients on showcasing your value. In other words, how to show, like, the importance of showing them, showing the powers that be, showing the partners, showing the C-suite, whoever you work for, whoever is like influential in your progression, showing your clients, showing them how valuable you are. And it occurred to me how much time we spend thinking about what I'll call business value or commercial value, if you like. In other words, like how to show that you are valuable enough to be promoted. And how little time we spend thinking about our own sense of value, our worthiness, like what you actually genuinely in the quiet of your mind think and feel about yourself. And I realize that it can be very, very simple, very easy rather, to confuse the two. To think that your value in the workplace is a reflection of your actual value, or it determines your actual innate value as a human. And in this episode, I want to separate those two out clearly for you, so that you never mix the two, so that you understand the connection, where there is a connection, there is overlap between the two, and so that you feel empowered to stay mindful of your sense of value, your sense of self-worth. Stay mindful of it, take care of it, make sure that is looked after before, or certainly throughout the whole time you're focusing on showcasing your value. Okay, so it's easily overlooked. What I see, what I hear hints of is either you don't value yourself at all. So it's possible to be a black lawyer, to be looking successful and seeming to be doing well on the surface, but actually have quite low self-esteem and not value yourself. So that's some of you, right? Others of you, I think you do value yourself, and I hear that in some of the language, the way you talk about yourself, but actually I'm going to argue you don't value yourself enough. I know that for me as a lawyer, it's not that I really devalued myself. I say that now and I'm asking myself a question. There may have been times when I possibly did, but I wasn't walking around thinking, oh, I'm unworthy, I've got no self-worth. I didn't have zero. I was hugely lacking in confidence, but I didn't have zero self-worth. But at the same time, I didn't have a strong sense of my own value. I didn't have that sense that I was really valuable. I would never have described myself as being valuable, that being a human being, as a human, I was valuable, faults and all, right? And this is something that I have learned and developed in my coaching, my own personal coaching journey over the last 18 years. But also as I've been coaching you and seeing how it plays out, I have really understood the importance of, or the value of, properly really valuing yourself at the highest level. So not just thinking, yeah, well, I'm human, I make mistakes, or I'm human, there are some things I can do, but properly being I'm human, I'm amazing. And really stepping into, this is what I want you to do as a result of this episode. And I'm guessing you're not going to find this in many places that you go to for advice on how to progress your career. So I want to take the time and give you the opportunity to do it right now, which is to really step into how amazing it is to be you, how innately incredible you are, what a miracle it is to be a human in this world, to wake up in the morning and have agency over your, be able to think about and choose how you think, to live this life, to breathe in oxygen and your body function, to move your body, even if you have limited abilities, like the abilities that you do have, even if they're not physical, they might be mental, whatever they are, to really be in the brilliance of that. That's what this episode is about. I think this is extremely valuable, and you're going to learn why. But first, the third scenario in which I see this come up is the number of times I hear you feeling frustrated that you are not valued. And I want to offer that a lot of the time behind that frustration about not being valued, what I'm seeing is you don't actually value yourself. So here's why valuing yourself matters. I'm going to give you 3 reasons. Number 1, if you want others to value you, start by valuing yourself. You can't expect other people to value you when you don't even value yourself. And what I want to offer is, of course, there will be some people who value you for who you are no matter what. You'll have loved ones, you'll have family, friends, even potentially a boss or certain peers, people you've worked with, a mentor who value you, regardless of the amount of your self-worth, regardless of how much you value yourself. But what I want to offer is that it's actually your job, it's your responsibility to see yourself as valuable as a human. I think that anything short of that is, it's devaluing yourself. It's not even just being neutral. It's like if you don't value yourself as a human, as a person, then you devalue yourself. You devalue what it means to be a human in this world. You devalue all of the things that you have in your life. You devalue the miracle of life. You devalue everything you can do and the ways in which you can show up and the ways in which your brain works or your body works. And all of the, what I want to say is natural gifts that you have been given in this lifetime. You devalue those by not intentionally and consciously valuing them. So I feel like it is your responsibility to yourself to value yourself. And it's wonderful to know that, and I'll talk to this in a moment, your ability to value yourself will also impact other people's sense of your value. The second reason why it's important is because we never want your self-worth, your sense of worthiness, your self-value, right, to depend on circumstances outside of you, to depend on other people telling you you are good enough. We've all encountered people in along our journey who may have made us feel less than valuable, or spoken to us in a way that made us feel like unworthy or made us feel devalued. And that should never be. Like, we want to be impenetrable. That was hard. We want to be impenetrable in that way. And what I mean by that is, it doesn't matter what's happening outside of you. Your sense of self-worth never change. You always have a sense that you are intrinsically valuable. The third reason why this matters, or why it's really useful, this exercise and what you're going to get out of this episode, is when you value yourself, you take care of yourself from a sense of, what I want to say is you're sufficient, right? You've taken care of your own needs to feel valuable, to feel like a valuable human being. So by valuing yourself, you take care of your own needs. And what that does is it creates the freedom, right, and the detachment for you to go out and showcase your value to those you work with, to your clients, to your peers, to your bosses, to the people who make decisions about promoting you, right? What we want is for you to be as free to focus on showcasing that value in order to progress your career, knowing that no matter what happens, you will always feel worthy. You will always feel like you are like enough and that you are an amazing human being with so many innate and natural gifts and so much going for you. Yeah. So this is also really important as well. Is like what valuing yourself will free you up to do in your career in terms of achieving your progression goal. Okay, so my goal for this episode is as follows. Number 1, I want you to value yourself. Capital V, capital Y, value yourself, and that just be who you are, so that you treat yourself with the care and the respect that you deserve as a human, as a magnificent, amazing being in this world, in this planet, in the miracle of life that we all are. I want you to value yourself and treat yourself with care and respect. I want you to value yourself so that you project that value, right, to others. And the more others see you valuable, right, in And this can be in both an intrinsically human way, that's the most important in this context, but also in that way of like in the context of your career, like you projecting your value will impact their sense of how valuable you are. So I want you to be able to project that value. So it's not only you feeling valuable, but also you project it to others. And of course, that's going to influence how they see you and how they treat you. And I've already mentioned this in terms of your sufficiency. So you valuing yourself is going to make you so sufficient in who you are, self-sufficient, right? At a self-esteem, self-worth level, that you're then free to go out and do all the work that you know you need to do to progress your career. You're free to not have that value depend on circumstances outside of you. You're free to dedicate yourself to being like, okay, so what is valuable in this firm? What's valuable? I want to be promoted to this level. What is valued? How do I go after that? How do I showcase that I'm ready for that? Yeah. And that the freedom to do that and the headspace, the bandwidth to do that, the courage and the confidence to do that starts with you already valuing yourself. Okay, so I just want to share like my journey in this space. So beforehand, and I did touch on this a little bit earlier, I mentioned how I didn't like necessarily downplay or undervalue myself intentionally, but I never embraced my own value. I never lent on my own value. I never connected with my sense of being a valuable human being to support me on my journey. And what that meant is I was very easily attached to like attaching my self-worth to my achievements. So as long as I was achieving, I felt like I was worthy. But if I wasn't achieving, then I didn't feel that I was like worthy. I didn't have a sense of my own self-worth. And I think that became increasingly obvious to me when I left the law, actually, because then I realized actually without the cover, if you like, of being in a law firm, being busy with work and actually stepping out on my own and building a business, building the credibility, building my brand, attracting clients, right? All the business development work I've had to do and continue to do over the years and that I know you need to do, right, for that next promotion. It was then in those moments that I realized how thin and how frail my own self-worth was, and it became a big part of my journey. The work I needed to do on just believing I was worthy, I was human, and that was something amazing to cherish and to lean on. Whatever was going on outside of me extrinsically and in the circumstances of what I was trying to achieve. So now where I am, realizing the importance of valuing myself, also the power of being someone who values themselves and what that then enables me to do, I take very good care of myself. In fact, I like to say I take ferociously good care of myself. It's one of the ways in which I show that I value myself. I never talk down to myself or judge myself. I don't mean that the voices never occurs to me or there isn't any attempt at that sort of inner critical voice. Sometimes it comes up and I won't allow it. Like whenever there's a sort of inner weaker or tireder moment, a little voice in my brain that says, oh, why did you do that? Like that tries to judge me. An old voice like from the past tries to judge me, tries to criticize me, tries to beat me up over a mistake I've made. I shut that down. I do not tolerate talking badly to myself. I am compassionate. I champion myself. I big myself up. I reassure myself. I comfort myself. And I see that as my responsibility. It's not that I don't get it from elsewhere, but I recognize the role I have and how important it is that I can treat myself that way, that I value myself enough to do that. I also present my best self. So there's the way of presenting yourself, and we'll talk about this in a moment when we talk about ways in which you can increase how much you value yourself or show yourself that you value yourself. So I'm going to come back to it. But in the context of my example, like I present myself in a way that tells me, that mirrors back to me that I value myself. So when I get dressed in the morning and I am usually almost always fairly smartly presented, I pretty much always wear makeup. Sometimes I don't. Maybe if I go out early walking the dog and if I go out on a run, I won't have put my makeup on yet, but I present myself, I wear makeup. I look after my hair, I look after my nails as best I can. But I'm aware of these things and I'm conscious of these things. I also exercise. I'm conscious and intentional with my diet. I'm aware of like my sleep and trying to look after my sleep. All of these ways in which I take ferociously good care of myself, I show I value myself. Okay, so this is where I am now. In a way I wasn't so intentionally before. And I can't tell you what that does for my confidence. I can't tell you what that does for my ability to go out and do hard things. Because I'm sufficient in myself and in my self-worth, I can then go out and do the stuff that requires courage, it requires confidence, it requires and involves failure, right? And getting back up and going again. So that's where I am. And the way, I'm going to share with you actually some of the thoughts I choose to think about myself as part of this evidence, right? That I value myself, but also to reinforce how much I value myself. I'm going to be sharing with you some of those thoughts so that you can borrow and adopt them for yourself in order to feel and behave in the same or a similar way, in a way that shows you how much you value yourself. Okay, so here's what I want you to get out of today's session, this work. I'd like to invite you to just reflect. Again, it's not something you do very often. Reflect for a moment on how well you value yourself. Do you value yourself? How do you know you value yourself? I'm going to give you some hints in a moment, but that's one of the things I want for you, just the time to think about this question. Do I value myself? The second thing I want for you is for you to understand the difference between intrinsic value, which is what we're talking about today, and your business value, which is what we talk about when I teach you about showcasing your value to the partnership or to those who influence whether you are being promoted or not. The third thing I want you to get out of it is simply a process for valuing yourself. If you don't value yourself, a process for doing that. And if you do value yourself, really some ideas and examples and tools, I guess they are, and the thoughts that I'm going to give you to help you really lean into that value. Like really go for it. Properly embrace the value that you have as an amazing human being. I want you to really recognize yourself for that. And it doesn't matter that there are however many billion, I don't know how many people there are on the planet. My kids would be rolling their eyes. Like, Mum, how do you not know that? However many people there are on the planet, doesn't matter that there are all the other humans. We are all have that. Like, it's amazing to be a human. And I want to invite you to really step into recognizing that and really appreciating that at the most basic level of just like the miracle of being in this world and being alive right now. Okay, so the reflection on how much or how well you value yourself. By the way, what I'm going to share with you is not conclusive. I'm just going to give you 4 examples of ways to know, like indicators of how much you value yourself intrinsically, right, as a human. Number 1, how do you talk about yourself? So to others, the language you use, when you might say, well, do you say out loud? Do you say, I'm so terrible at this, or trust me to get this wrong, or that's just typical of me? Like when you do that in a negative way, right? The assumption is that that's just typical of me to have done something negative, or I'm useless at this, or I've never been any good at that. In isolation, those bits of conversation, those statements can seem really innocuous and as if like it's really, really harmless, doesn't make a big difference. But when you're repeating those things over and over, you're hearing them, and in a way you are also internalizing them, reinforcing them. You're creating a kind of, it's not a confirmation bias, but it's what's the word it's called when you're just kind of reinforcing? I'm going to have to let you fill in the gaps on this one. But where you're self-fulfilling. Yes! Self-fulfilling prophecy. That's what I was looking for. So what you're doing is creating a self-fulfilling prophecy when you make these declarations and statements about yourself. So have a think about it and be on the alert. Start to notice how you talk out loud about yourself, how you talk about yourself to others. That's one point of reflection for you. The second point of reflection for you is, how do you treat yourself? I gave you some examples of how I treat myself if I fail or if I make a mistake. What do you do? Do you beat yourself up? Do you, even taking some of those examples I gave you from the first way of measuring how much you value yourself, so how you talk about yourself to others, is that how you talk about yourself to yourself? Do you say, oh, that's just typical of me? Oh, why can't I just? When will I learn to? I'm so useless at. I can't believe it. You should have known better. How critical is that inner voice? That's all the way you treat yourself as you go through the world, how you talk to yourself. Again, you're creating a self-fulfilling prophecy, internalizing a lack of self-worth and diminishing your value. So do you do that? Again, what's your awareness of that? The third one I want you to be aware of is how you present yourself. You can tell a lot about a person by the way they present themselves, a lot about how they value themselves, rather, by how they present themselves. Now, let's be clear. I'm not saying, please don't use what I've said in this episode against yourself. Don't use my example against yourself and take it to mean that if you don't put on makeup or do your nails or do your hair, then it means I'm saying you don't value yourself. That is not what I'm saying. But I am asking you to look in the mirror and pay attention to when you get dressed, when you prepare yourself to face the day, what are your thoughts about yourself? What's behind that? I genuinely don't care what you wear, how you present yourself. There's no judgment of, it's not a good or bad. I want you to ask or investigate the underlying sense of self-worth that drives that. Yeah? I'm curious as to what that brings up for you. For sure, it might be a little bit triggering for some of you who might struggle with that particular part of the sort of outward manifestation of self-worth. And I just want to argue for you to investigate it and make a decision for yourself whether you consider that to be important. But I'm offering it as can be a real indicator. It could be a real indicator of self-neglect, for example, and I'm using an extreme here, to wear clothes with really bad holes in them and not care at all if those clothes are clean, for example. So I'm going to leave you with that food for thought to reflect on, to explore, and let me know. I'd love to flesh this out a little bit more with you to find out what actually that brings up for you and whether you in fact agree with that or not, whether how you present yourself is relevant to your sense of self-worth. What I can certainly offer is it really is to me, and I am very, very good friends with a very good friend of mine, Lizzie Edwards, who runs a style program called Elevate, a style membership, and all of her work is it's not about the clothes, right? It's about your sense of self-worth when you put on those clothes and your choice of clothes to help you feel more valuable, to demonstrate your value to yourself. So make sure you look her up. That's Lizzie Edwards, and her program is called Elevate. Super good. Okay. The fourth thing I want to invite you to reflect on is, how do you care for yourself? And by that, I mean, what's your lifestyle? Do you take care of your body? Do you take care of your health? Or do you exploit it? Do you neglect it? Do you abuse it? Yeah. So how you treat your body, the care you take over yourself physically and also mentally, can be a reflection of your self-worth, how much you value yourself. So again, I invite you to reflect on that and think about, okay, on balance, using those examples that Caroline has shared today, do I value myself? Do I show myself as taking those examples? Does that demonstrate to me that I am a valuable human being, that I am a valuable person, that I am worthy? Okay, let's talk about the difference between innate value and business value. This is really simple. Your innate value doesn't change no matter what. And I want to argue it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter where you've been, it doesn't matter what you have done. In your lifetime, you as a human being have an innate value, innate worth. It is amazing to be alive. It is incredible to be a living, breathing creature who can think, who can move, who can think or can move. Like, just to be alive is amazing. To be a human is amazing. And that will never change. That will always be true, no matter what the circumstance. And then there's business value, right? And that really is literally based on some sort of external criteria. So the external criteria that your firm has for, like, when they're willing to promote you to partner, there'll be a whole set of criteria, and your business value will depend on how well you meet that set of external criteria. And that's what we work on when you showcase your value. That's what I teach you inside Be the First. That's what you learn to do. You learn to understand what your business value is. You learn to understand and identify what is valued within your organization or your firm, and how you can match and develop and grow your business value in order to position yourself for that promotion. So the two things are completely separate. Your innate value is fixed, it's infinite, it's never changes, it's impenetrable. I managed to get that word out this time. Yeah, and your business value is very much something you want to be intentional about. You can drive, you can improve, you can change. Yeah, and you do so based on a set of external criteria. So it's simple. Intrinsic is inside you. Business value is outside you based on external measurements. All right, so finally then, let's talk about ways to increase your value. What I want to offer you is a process. There's two recommendations I have for you, and you can do one or both. The first one is what in Be the First we call thought work. It is literally understanding what thoughts you currently have about yourself, and I've asked you to investigate and develop an awareness about that already when I talked about, this part of the objective of this session is to get you thinking about, well, how much do I value myself? So this is what we want to do first is, let's get down your existing thoughts, let's look at them. Do the work of understanding how you already think about yourself. And what does that say about how much you value yourself? And then choose thoughts that you want to think about yourself that show you to be valuable. So choose to think intentionally. This is something that is one of the most life-changing bits of work you will ever do inside Be the First. It's changed my life when I first understood and came across this in my own coaching journey, and I'm using it inside my programs to change people's lives when they realize that they can think on purpose. They realize that the thoughts that their brain offers them as a result of past behavior, other people's influences, just habitual thinking, those thoughts are optional. You get to decide whether to keep them or change them. And so what I want to offer as part of your work to value yourself or value yourself more is that you choose valuable thoughts about yourself. I'm going to give you an example and ones that I think about myself and you can borrow. And by borrow, I mean try them on, practice thinking them until you then start to feel them, see the truth in them. Before you know it, through this practice thought work, these thoughts will start to feel as true for you as any negative thoughts that you had before. So here are some thoughts that I like to think about myself as a reflection of how much I value myself, but also to reinforce creating that positive self-fulfilling prophecy of my thoughts reminding me how valuable I am. I am uniquely valuable. There's no one on the planet like me. I'm one of a kind. I am worthy. I'm human. I am amazing. I am and have brilliance inside me. I have infinite potential. Again, that's what it means to be human. I have infinite potential. And then my old favorite, I'm enough. I've always been enough. I will always be enough. Take some of those thoughts, take all of those thoughts, play around with them, digest them, practice thinking them. So doing this thought work is so powerful but you have to do it to realize the power of it. And I know this can seem quite challenging and abstract, which is why you want to be inside, like get inside, be the first. And I literally walk you through thought work. I teach it to you, I get you to practice it, and I show you 100 different examples of how it works and how it is we can put it to work in your life, not showing you in an abstract way, but literally get you implementing it, doing the thought work so that you experience the incredible results. Yeah, so it can be as simple as just changing your thoughts, the current thoughts you have about yourself as I'm not enough, to the thoughts you practice thinking about yourself, and then you going out into the world with those more valuable thoughts, and you showing up, feeling and being and believing yourself to be more valuable, and then seeing evidence of that being produced, seeing the results that you create, thinking like a person who values themselves. So thought work, don't get too caught up in it. I'm just giving you a little introduction to it in this session. Join Be the First and we will work through this together, and I'll show you how impactful this is as part of the groundwork we do, right? The baseline work we do before we get onto the external nitty-gritty of showcasing your value. It's really important. I cannot emphasize that enough. Okay, and then the second one I want to offer as a way to value yourself, start valuing yourself, or value yourself more if you already feel you value yourself a little. And that is literally the action. I want you to just take loads of action that demonstrate you are valuable. So literally, change something about how you present yourself. Change something about how you describe yourself to others. Change something about all of those sort of common statements you make out loud. Change them. Say something different. Wear something different. Do something different. Change something in your lifestyle. You know, if you smoke, what an incredible way to show how much you value yourself by cutting down on smoking, or better still, stopping smoking altogether. Yeah. If you don't exercise, what more valuable way of showing that you are valuable? I should give a prize for anyone who can guess the number of times I've used the word valuable in this episode. But what a great way to show how valuable you are when you take yourself off to exercise, when you're keeping yourself fit, when you're looking after your diet. So there's a whole set of actions that you can take to prove to yourself, show yourself that you are valuable. So I've given you two options there, and they're either or you can do both. Both would be even more amazing. One of them is at a thinking level and the other one is at a doing level. Practically just go out and start doing it right now. All right? Do both of those together. It would be super powerful. Now, here's what I want you to expect. Here's what's going to come up if it's not already coming up. You're going to think, oh, well, this isn't enough to make me feel valuable. It's not enough to help me value myself. This seems too simple, Caroline. A bit of thought work and going out and doing some exercise, that doesn't seem believable. You might think that. You might think it's not going to work, right? So the solution's too simple. It's not going to work. Another one I might hear you say is, well, I'd be lying to myself if I start saying those things to myself. Here's what I want to offer. All of that we take care of inside Be the First. It's one of the most valuable things about being in that program. It's all of the objections that your brain is going to offer you to the solutions I give you and the process I teach for getting the results you want, right? For valuing yourself and then going on, having that foundation so you can then go on to showcase your value, right? Everything I teach you, the beauty of Be the First isn't only that you get that strategy, you also get me supporting you along the way in the implementation and answering all of the ways in which your brain wants to stay where it is, stay stuck, not change, continue undervaluing yourself, questioning your self-worth, right? I'm here. This is my job as a coach, is to support you with all of those ways in which you might be resistant to this change. Because believe it or not, any kind of change, even change for the good, even change where you go from not valuing yourself to valuing yourself, your brain will resist because it's much more comfortable to just stay where you are and keep doing the same thing and keep thinking the same negative thoughts and treating yourself in the same way that suggests you don't value yourself. All right, so don't worry about all of those objections that you might have. Inside Be the First, I'm going to help you through all of those. I'm going to be with you every step of the way and holding you accountable as you implement this work. All right, so I want to leave you with this. You Valuing yourself it's the minimum baseline of any work we do together inside Be the First. It's got to be the minimum baseline, the minimum standard for anything you do in your career. It will support you in your career. And then conversely, whatever you're doing in your career does not determine your value. It doesn't determine your self-worth. Your self-worth is impenetrable. Keep saying that word now, I'm determined to get it right. It's inviolable. It will never change. It's the core of who you are. You are a human being. You are amazing. You have been given the gift of life. And I want to invite you to just recognize that, feel sufficient in that, so that then when we get to go to work on building your business value, you are complete. Nothing impacts your sense of self-worth. And in fact, your sense of self-worth is, as I said, the foundation. It supports you in your work as you increase your business value. All right, so if you are a mid to senior level Black lawyer, I want to invite you to join Be the First. Enrollment is currently closed, so we've already started the September class for 2025. But if you are a mid to senior level Black lawyer and you want to progress to the next level in the next 6 to 12 months, book a call with me. I'm going to add a link to my calendar. You can book straight in there. Let's get on a call. Let's talk about your ambitions. Let's talk about your goals. Or let's talk about the goals you're not sure if you want or not. Let's talk about how Be the First can help you, whether I'm the right coach for you, and any other questions you might have about progressing your career as a Black lawyer in a white world. That's it from me this week. It's been a pleasure. I want you to go out, value yourself more, my friends. You are human, you are incredible, you are amazing, and let's do some amazing work together on your career. So book that call. I'll put the link in below. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.